hello. It's Jackie Janik, and today is Thursday, and you know what Thursday is? Beyond Small Talk, every Thursday at the 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Again, my name is Jackie Janik, and I'm a women's empowerment coach, helping women uncover their purpose and define their own path in the world. And today you are watching Beyond Small Talk. Real women, real conversations, elevating womankind one talk at a time. And this week, our co-host, her name is Alexandra Harper, and she is the founder of Women of Culture NYC. You have to go check her out. Alexandra is an arts enthusiast who believes deeply in the power of the arts to heal, transform, and inspire us. So today we're going to talk about how the arts influence women. How can women be a part of the arts? And what do we get out of the arts? Why is it so important? And how do the arts also build community? So let's get Alexandra on. Again, Women of Culture NYC. So excited. Oh my God. Guys, the IG just changed. What the frick? My IG just literally changed. Okay, here. Alexandra, just invited you on my little setup on my old Samsung trades. Hey, girl!
Hey. Oh my God, it's so funny. That same thing happened to me yesterday. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that where's the button? What's going on?
That's what I was just gonna say. I was like, where's that little thing oh my God. So anyway, oh my God. And now it looks a bit different. And now I have a little smiley face and I could turn the camera around and like you could do all these things. And I'm like, hey, I just want to live and talk to other women.
I know. You think they'd let us know, right? Like, by the way, we're changing everything. But
right. I mean, IG does it all the time. Thanks, IG. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's so good to see you.
You too, and everyone know that Alex and we go way back. I mean, it has to be at least like 6-7 years, right? And we sat in women's circles together, and I was just so honored to be in the circle when I feel like Women of Culture started to be born.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience.
You like blossomed that. You just totally blossomed.
Well, yeah, I kind of have to, partially thank you for helping me, discover this idea and get it off the ground. So I'm always long indebted.
I mean, it was a beautiful circle we sat in, and it was just 12 weeks, and then this was birth. So I'm so excited for you to share with the Beyond Small Talk community exactly like why Women of Culture, like how did this really come up for you, and why does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, and it's really fun that, like you said, we've known each other for a while, and this has evolved over time, and you knew me before I came up with the concept, and then as I was first developing it. But I think in the beginning, Women of Culture was really very much about bringing women together to experience the arts and using the arts as a tool to connect, inspire, and empower women. And it's still very much about that, but over time I've realized my passion is also really about experiencing the arts more approachable to everyone, and using the arts as a tool for personal development. And that's sort of been a lot, in there all the time. But it really originally started out of my own desire to connect more with other women in the city and with the amazing art scene that exists here. And I had been in New York for about 10 years, and I knew a lot of people, but I didn't feel like a deep connection, or that I really had my tribe, I guess you could say. And so I was also a little bit frustrated at that a lot of people I knew just weren't that interested in experiencing the arts. It was all about, just like going to the bar,
going out, getting trashed, and that's what you do in your 20s in New York. Like, what else is there to do? But there's like a whole culture of New York that I think people are missing in the arts, especially in a younger age, where you're like, oh, is there drinks or I'm not going, And then all of a sudden it's a different way to really experience New York. And I love that that you bring in a lot of community building around it too, that women are supporting women, and I know it's expanded beyond women, but also it's a nice place to go where, I mean, when I go to museums, I love art too. Like, I'm a creative. I just like different forms of creativity. And sometimes when I show up to some of these places, I don't really know what to do. Like, I know I just walk around a museum and I'm like, da 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 da. But it's interesting. It's just beautiful how you like curated experiences for women to do this.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I noticed and realized that people weren't going to museums or shows or whatever because they somehow felt intimidated by it or was like too difficult. You mean you get lazy? It's like, oh yeah, I'll go to that some other time. But if I've created an event and I'm giving you other people to go with who are also interested in it and setting up sort of structure where you know we might have a tour or some other sort of engagement so that, like you said, you're not just kind of wandering around like, what the hell am I looking at? And it also becomes sort of a social activity, like not to take away from the art at all, but just to add another layer of enjoyment. I mean, everything you do is better enjoyed when shared, right? When you can share an experience with someone. So that's really what it's all about.
Oh yeah, for sure, Shay. So what does the arts mean to you? Why is it, do you have a specific like art you prefer, or you just generally love the arts? And what do you consider the arts?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very broad term. I know,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've had to like revise my mission statement so many times. It's like people are like, the art. So are you an artist? What do you do? And obviously, like, what women of culture is much more about experiencing the arts and encouraging patronage of the arts and arts engagement, audience engagement. So I think the arts really any form of creative expression. So that includes visual arts, performing arts, dance, theater, film, music, sculpture. There's so many amazing forms of creative expression, and I think that's art is really what makes us human, right? Like that's what sort of separates us from other species, this ability to create something out of nothing for the sole purpose of expression. And so to me it's really about connecting with our most essential human nature, which is so beautiful and profound in ways.
It is, and I love how you say like it's just a creative expression of like who you are, or like just to open up your mind. Even because I find being around other creatives, or even I have friends who say, "Well, I'm not creative." I think we're all creative as human beings, like you said. It's like innately in us in some way, shape, or form. That some people might do it as an art, meaning like painting or drawing, or some people do it as dance, some people do it as writing. Like I think writing is could be a form of beautiful art, music, all of these things. And it's just so nice. Like sometimes I think people forget how I was reading up on women of culture nyc.org, and you were talking about how it's a form of healing, and I was like, how can this be? Like, and if you experience and you try it, I think it's really true. Music therapy, my daughter does that. My daughter's autistic, and she loves music, and it just is such like a soothing thing for when she gets like a little like have you experienced that with yourself or others?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I find experiencing the arts to be almost like meditative experience. And for me, like I've definitely suffered from like anxiety and depression and things like that. And then, going to a museum or going to a show, it's like immediately gets you out of your head and like out of any like circular thinking or any obsessive thinking, and brings you back sort of, I think, to your heart and soul. Like I think it's really to me, connecting with yourself and also the world around you, because you're always discovering something about yourself, just seeing like, oh, I like this, I don't like that, makes me, if you're looking at different paintings or whatever, that makes me feel sad, that makes me feel happy, you're constantly kind of learning, and then also seeing the world through someone else's perspective, and broadening your own perspective through their eyes, basically seeing the world through someone else's eyes.
Point, and it's like needed more and more today. We need to see perspective through each other's eyes, and like that was really nicely put there. And just like, how did that person create it, or why they created it? Or sometimes people really create through pain. I can see how it's healing, because I know some people paint, or some people, because they're in pain, and that's their form of expression to kind of like move that energy out. And then they create these beautiful pieces, and then you get to learn more about other people. Oh my God, I love that. My favorite, if I could share, is I love graffiti. I'm like, and I know you're having a graffiti on the 20th. And I was like rearranging everything in my life. I was like, oh my God, if there's still space, I need to come. And it's just, I think for women, creating that space in their mind, because like you said, sometimes you're all in here. Like I've been suffering lately too, a bit of with the depression and anxiety. It's multiple reasons. I mean, the world and the world's going on. So that's brought it on. I've been sharing a lot of in perimenopause. Anyway, so a lot of up. And the first thing I turned to too is now a lot more music and just looking at art. I also like fashion, and I know fashion is a form of art and a form of expression. And it's just nice to also share it with other people who have the same interest as you, because I was like, my husband, I took him to a museum, and he was just like walking around and literally like got a beer, and I was like,
he's like, what?
Can we, what am I looking at? What am I doing?
Well, yeah, I think it's funny that there's this idea that you have to sort of like understand it, or you have to like know art history in order to enjoy art or something. And I'm like, no, like art is about raw emotion. It's something just that strikes you, or makes you feel something. It matter if you know the history behind it, or whether it's good or not. People always like, oh, how do you know what is good art? And I'm like, it makes you feel something. It's so subjective. Like, it's really up to the individual. So I think it's
that's
also
such
like allowed that
ourselves to like.
What'd you say?
Yeah. Sorry. We put pressure on ourselves to have to like know about the art. Like, what does that piece mean? I don't know. But what does it mean for me, or what do I see? That's a really valid point. People need to lighten up about art and like, or just go, right? Like view it, and it's like, how does it make you feel? Like, how did, their expression make you feel versus critiquing it? Who are we all to critique someone's art, to be real? Like, we both have been graphic designers, and I'm sure, in corporate America, and people love to to critique design. Well, I get critiqued all the time, right? Little marking on your paper. And I'm like, but sometimes it's like, who are you to say that my creation could be judged? Really?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, like with graphic design, it's like a different thing, but I think that's what I love so much about the art world, is that it's like, who am I to judge anyone else's art? Like, I just respect you for having the balls to create it, to put it out there, and, I may not like it, may not do anything for me. There's plenty of art I see that I'm just like, no, don't feel anything. Like, not sure what they were getting at, but it's not for me, and that's fine, and you move on. So.
Yeah, I mean, we don't like every people, but you don't have to. We were paused for a second.
Oh. Yeah, it's like getting a little crazy.
Yeah, a little delayed, a little Wi-Fi delay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So let me hear. So how does it play? Like, what's the role of women
Oh,
in the
right. You were asking
arts?
about women. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Got off on a tangent, but yeah. No, I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously, there's tons of female artists and arts administrators, and I think there's actually like um, most arts administrators are women. I think something like 70% or something like that. So there's a lot of women in in the art world. Um, but then it's a little weird. You realize like a lot of the most famous artists that we're most familiar with are men. So that's a whole other issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of, I'm mostly interested in the way that the arts can be a tool for connection, inspiration, empowerment, especially among women, because I do think they exist a little bit more in like the feminine realm and the feminine energy of emotions and feelings and being rather than doing, and not to say like obviously there's tons of male artists, but I do think that the feminine energy is a little bit more connected to the arts, and so I think that's like really an interesting thing where men sort of, not to sound too like I can like get myself in trouble because everything's fluid and whatever, but at the same time I think there's been like a lot of focus on male energy and like sports and finance and business and things like that in our society where we have an opportunity to maybe like shift and also like elevate the importance of things that are a little bit more about expression and feelings and emotions and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I kind of see like a tie with women and the arts, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
because I think no, it does, and I think sometimes feelings and all that looked at by society as like weak, right?
Yeah.
When it's quite the opposite to be able to express that, show up, and be seen, and make yourself so vulnerable. That's like always my favorite thing by Brene Brown, that courage doesn't exist without vulnerability, and vulnerability doesn't exist without courage. Like they go like simultaneously. And I wish, more and more people would see that, because I think artist or any type of art, it takes a lot of, like you said in the beginning, that takes a lot of balls to do. Like to stand up on a stage and just perform your heart out and things like that, where all the time we're just, even coming on here, sometimes I think, more audio than writing, that just audio is this is my form of creativity and my form of preferred art through sound, I guess, right? Like we're talking, it's
Yeah.
sound. And
Yeah.
both of us, we're putting ourselves out there. Like this is a place that
Yeah, and
we're
that's
putting
scary.
ourselves out to
Yeah.
be seen and heard. Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, am I doing this and it's taking balls of me to do it? And then other times I look at all women like you and I'm like, hey, we're all doing it together and supporting each other. And
Yeah.
I think that's the most important. And what I see in your community of women
Yeah.
of culture is it feels supported, and
Yeah.
that you have extended past the art into a sisterhood.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that was, another sort of impetus for starting out was also to, I'm very much an arts addict, but also a feminist, and, seeing that there's an opportunity for women to really support one another in a more authentic way and be really more connected and, spending our like sort of leisure time doing something that's like also sort of um, productive and helps you like grow and as a person, and so that was it's all part of it.
Yeah, for sure. What's your favorite form of art?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I guess I always say dance was like my gateway drug to the arts because, yeah, I danced for years, like through college, and just I still love movement. It's just I think the most amazing thing to now I don't dance that much, but even just watching, experiencing dance, and to see the things that people can do with their bodies, it's just immediately
Yeah. But like sometimes I see what people do, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, you can dance in your room right there, turn the music on, and this is like such a beautiful New York day. Just like you, are you in New York or are you in Florida?
No, I'm back home now, so I'm in Brooklyn. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, you're back in New York, so it's like almost 70 out, and it feels like you could dance in the streets right now. It just feels so
yeah.
good today, right?
I know it is. It's like very freeing. It feels like, oh, the world is like coming back to life finally.
Yeah, and seeing like now these places are reopening, or you can have more attendance because I'm sure over this past year the arts really took a hit financially. Like
Yeah, I
people
mean,
weren't able.
Broadway's been closed for
Hmm.
a year. Like, museums were closed for a little while. They're now open, but they're reduced capacity. And so, yeah, I feel terrible for people that, especially, dancers and performers that just had, basically no way of performing for the past year.
Yeah, doing what they love and making a living out of it. Like
Yeah.
they just like, how do you do that? Like dance on the street, like
Yeah.
like I know some got really creative around it, but it's just that was really tough. So it must feel hard when when your art's taken away or you're not able to have it as part of your life. So it sounds like you make art part of your life. You make like this creativity part of your life. Do you do this like all the time? You make it part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess I don't do a lot of art. I write, I do some things here and there, but I think, for me, like experiencing the arts is like sort of a creative outlet. And so, yeah, I mean, that is just like even last March or April when we were, totally locked down, it's like, even looking at things online or it's definitely I'd rather go in person, but that's it still has the same experience. And with Women of Culture, I did a lot of online events where we were bringing in artists to do like online talks or kind of pop-up performances through Zoom, and just so that we could still stay engaged with the arts and still experiencing the arts, and also giving some artists like a way to continue expressing themselves and having an audience. So that was really fun, and I feel like that helped me through that quarantine time for sure.
For sure, you were really smart and you pivoted quite quickly. That was great. And yeah, serving multiple people. Like, I couldn't imagine if that's something you love to do and it was just like taken away from you for such a long period of time. And it just must, like you said, anxiety, depression, all these things are coming up because these are forms of who you are and who you be. That when that's not available to you, it's just kind of like, who am I
Yeah.
now?
Yeah,
Looking
I
in
know.
the
Every
mirror,
time
like,
I'm
who
like
am I?
complaining, like, oh, that I can't go to Broadway, or I'm sad about it. I'm like, okay, but let me think about the people that like that's their life, that's their job, that's their so.
On Broadway. Yeah, like that's their lives, like that's their livelihoods, and yes, we appreciate and um, yeah, so awesome. I'm excited to see even more events that you have coming up. And how do
Yeah.
you? Okay, so I always kind of end. I need to know what do you do for self care? Like I know you are on the self care bandwagon, right?
Yeah.
You believe in it.
Yes, I'm fully on the bandwagon. Yeah. I mean, experiencing the arts is a form of self care for me. Like I was saying, I often find just going to a museum by myself, it's like I can get totally lost and sort of in flow, like out of my head and just really in the moment. And but I also do meditate and some breath work. So those things are really important to me. And if I can sort of meditate while at a museum looking at art, it's even better.
That's like the Oh,
Yeah.
that is so great. Do you mind? I'm adding this to my self care list. I have a list going that I'm working on to put together for all Beyond Small Talk
Oh, nice.
community and beyond. And I didn't have visiting like the arts. Like that's a really
Yeah.
thank you. I'm borrowing that from you, and I will
Yeah,
definitely
I
credit
mean,
that to you.
yeah, please do. I mean, I think that like sometimes, like you said, people don't know what to do, but like if you just find one painting that like sort of interesting, maybe you don't have to love it, but just like spending some time with it and just trying to like slowly observe like different things about like what are the colors, what are the shapes, and if you spend like 10 minutes with painting, it's like you notice so many different things that weren't there when you first started. And
Yeah.
yeah, we don't often let ourselves do that, but it's, I think,
Often don't
a good
slow down enough to do
yeah.
that. Like we won't slow down, and either people walk through, and they're just like we were saying before. Like there's, you don't have to know everything to be in a museum. That is such a nice self care tip, just to stand in front of one and ask yourself those questions. What do you see? What does it make you feel? What do you think about that? Like you learn a lot about yourself. I think that's the biggest takeaway, that the arts teach you about you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Oh,
It was so
yeah,
nice
no, it's like
seeing
you said it
you.
perfectly. Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, that's it. Thank you, thank you. Where can everyone find you?
So womenofculture.org, and then all socials are Women of Culture NYC. Like you said, we have a art walk coming up in the Lower East Side next Saturday, the 20th. And yeah, slowly getting back out. I mean, it's actually a really nice time to go to the museums and galleries because they're a lot less crowded than normal, and everyone's got masks on and everything. So it's actually a nice time to take advantage of the art scene here.
For sure, less people, because I've been in a museum where I was like, oh my God, it's so crowded. And it's,
Yeah.
nice that you could go leisurely and really get to know yourself within the museum or within a gallery. What's popping up I'm in Long Island City. There's
Yeah.
these tiny little galleries. Like literally there was like, it looks like a makeshift kind of garage-esque thing. And there was like 6 paintings and just a sculpture. And I walked by and the guy was like, oh, you could come in and look. And I was like, oh. And I did, and it really felt good. Of course, my husband was like outside. And I was like, yo, like, relax. Like, this is the arts. Take it
Yeah.
in. Feel it, right?
Yeah. You're like, why is it all women? I'm like, that's why it's all, no, there's
There you go. I think you're like,
yeah.
that's why I want to go with all women. That is the answer.
Right. Yeah, there's
Oh
obviously
my
some men
God.
that, enjoy it, but
Of course. We're not generalizing here. We're not picking on any certain people. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to see you soon because I would like to join. And if anyone in the Beyond Small Talk community would like to join me, I'm happy to have you. We'll go at womenofculture.org, and I'll tag Alex here as well. Thank you
Thank you so much for having me.
again.
This was so fun.
Thank you. And remember, everyone, Beyond Small Talk live every Thursday at 4 o'clock. And if you missed this or you need to listen again, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, or YouTube. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Bye.